I saw something this morning that honestly didn't sit right with me. A post on social media. It was a conversation between two individuals, somebody in their 30s and somebody in their 40s. And the person in their 40s went on to say that they lived their whole life being a good person and now they're just depressed, alone. They said that if they could go back in time, they will do everything differently and not be the person that they were. And the person in their 30s who looking for some advice on life, looking up to this person in their 40s thinking, hey, this person learned from their mistakes and they know what they're talking about. He turned to the 40-year-old and said, you know what, I see exactly where you're going with this and I understand. And I am not going to make the same mistakes that you claim to make. And reading that post, I just there thinking to myself, the problem really isn't being a good person. That is not the problem. The part of the problem is that most of us aren't as good as we actually think we are. There comes a point in your life where you have to ask yourself, am I as good as I think I am? When you start saying things like being a good person is what have you in the situation of being lonely and by yourself and depressed, I strongly disagree with that. And trust me, I come from a place where I had enough depression and loneliness and hurt in my life to feel that way. Being a good person isn't the problem. Misunderstanding what it means to be a good person, well, that will ruin your life. The biggest misconception that people have about being a good person is thinking that you always have to be kind, that you always have to give, that you always have to forgive, and that you always have to be there for people all the time. And deep down, the people who really do these things, whether they admit it or not, they hope or they wish that it come back to them in some form, shape or way. Whether it be respect, loyalty, love, support in the times that you need it. Yeah, you think that it will come back to them. Because the mantra in your head and the law of karma is that I do good and good will come back to me. But the reality of life is that it just don't work that way. When the reality of life hit and it really don't work out that way, people don't question their expectations. They question life. Why life doing this to me? Why God is giving toughest soldiers the hardest battles? They start questioning being good. And they start thinking to themselves, maybe I should just stop being good. Maybe I should just be as selfish as everybody else. And maybe being this way, trying to be good, is what have me in the position that I am today. But deep down, being good is not the reason that you are alone or you feel like the whole world is against you. That is not the reason. Because here's the truth that most people don't want to hear or even discuss, right? Most people treat goodness like a transaction. Let me be real. If you expect something in return, whether it be outright expecting it or in the back of your mind thinking that karma going to play its part, that is not being genuinely good. That is not being a good person. That is somebody waiting for something good to happen to them. Kindness on the surface level. And we know how much of that it has in the world today. Because we all know that real goodness don't keep score. It don't say, I do this for you, so you have to do that for me. And don't get me wrong, Don't get me wrong at all. Reciprocity, reciprocity, hope I said that correct, because I'm kind of stupid. Reciprocity is a real thing. And it is important and an integral part of any relationship, be it a friendship, a marriage, or whatever it is. It needs to be an integral part of that. But your identity as a good person cannot be tied to or dependent on somebody else's response to you being a good person. If you don't get praise, you're going to stop. If somebody tells you something bad, you're going to stop. If you don't get the results or the payback that you feel like you deserve, you're going to stop. That's not being a good person. Because the reality of people is that people are unpredictable. Not everybody is you. Some people will literally cherish you for doing the small thing for them. And some people, they could bring down the mountains and the moon and it could be our next Thursday. They don't really care. They wouldn't notice. And then it have those that will just butter your ass up for every little thing that you do for them, because they know by doing that or stroking your ego, you're going to continue doing more. These are the people who just using you for what you could give them. Now here's the missing piece, and this is where most people go wrong. They confuse being a good person, being kind, to being a pushover, to being a yes man. Being kind doesn't mean being readily and always available to everybody all the time. Being patient doesn't mean tolerating disrespect all the time, every time, and you just have to always be the bigger person. Being loving doesn't mean abandoning yourself in the pursuit of somebody or something else. That is not being loving. That is being obsessed. The bottom line is good people have boundaries. And if you're a good person and you don't have boundaries, that's just an open invitation for people to use you, walk all over you, and for you to end up in the same position that that 40-year-old person in right now who think that they're so sad and alone because of the reception of how other people take their goodness, their kindness. Don't be that person. You don't want to be that person in your 40s or your 50s or your 60s. You don't want to be that person ever. Who feel that they was too good for the world and the world turned them into bitter. That is literally how supervillains are born. Because if you put yourself in that position, what ends up happening, and I could tell you this is the exact story that that 40-year-old person referring to, is you're going to give, and you're going to give, and you're going to give, and you give, and you give, and you give, and you keep on giving. And in the end, you're going to have nothing to show for it. In the end, you're going to feel like everybody use you to better themselves. In the end, you're going to feel like everybody leave you at square one while they use your help to achieve their goals. And who is to blame for that? You, for not having boundaries. And when that happens, that is the point in time that everybody just turn around and say, being a good person is not a good thing. Being a good person is a bad thing in today's world. No, the reality is you wasn't being inherently good. The reality is you was treating being good as a terms of barter. I do this and you do it back for me. And when you try being good in that manner, in that fashion, you leave yourself unprotected because you have no boundaries. Now here's the part that's hard to accept, right? Being a good person doesn't mean that bad things won't happen to you. Being a good person doesn't mean that you at a place in life where bad things will never happen to you. Bad things still happen to good people. People will disappoint you. You are going to feel alone at times. And there's another video that we had to talk about, right? Because this need that people have nowadays where you can't be alone is something that we need to touch on, but in a separate video. But you have to understand that when these bad things or when these terrible things happen to you, that is part of life. That is not a punishment. That is not karma giving you the bad end of the stick. No, that is just the way life does operate. And if your entire belief system is based on if I should do good, I should be rewarded, like this whole karma thing, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to constantly feel cheated. You're going to constantly feel abandoned. You're going to constantly feel disrespected. But if you try to shift it a little, right, and frame it in a different way, and you come to terms with the fact, or you tell yourself, I am being good, not for what I could get in return, because that is the kind of person I want to be in the world. That is the kind of person I would want to meet when I go out in the world. You're not doing it for some form of retribution. You're not doing it for some form of payment. You're not doing it for some form of thanks from some superior being. You're doing it because it's better than being an asshole. When you shift your thinking to that way, you will see how everything changes. You will see how your entire outlook on life changes. And for the people who feel alone or abandoned by the people who they constantly feel that they were a good person to, you need to stop and ask yourself a question, right? Did this really happen to you because you are a good person? Or did this really happen to you because of the expectations that you placed on other people? On something that you have no control over? Because sometimes, most times, loneliness and depression do come from being good. Loneliness and depression come from you expecting others to act a certain way that don't align to the story that you have in your mind or the plan that you lay out for the way that things supposed to go. And when you look at it from a broader spectrum, you're literally asking people to meet you at a level that they haven't reached as yet. Not everybody is you. Not everybody reached the place that you reach at in life. Not everybody see the things or had the experiences that you had. And not everybody will operate on the same values that you have either. And you have to understand that is not personal. You don't have to take that personally. They have nothing to do with you. That is just them not reaching that place where you are at on their journey as yet. Some people never reach that place. That is why we have a 40-year-old person giving crap advice to a 30-year-old. So let me leave you with this. Being a good person is not what you get back. Being a good person is about who you are and what you are willing to tolerate. So be kind. Be real. Be somebody that could wake up in the morning and look themselves in the mirror and be comfortable with the person staring back at them. But at the same time, know when to walk away. Know when to say no. Know when somebody no longer deserves the access to you that you always give them. Because being a good person isn't about being available to any and everybody at all times. It means being aligned with yourself. And that is something that nobody could ever take away from you. That is something that you have to willingly give up yourself. So I know this video was just about me rambling about a post I see on social media. But at the end of the day, the topic that was discussed in that post was a real topic that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people live a life of trying to reach a height of goodness that's unachievable. They put themselves last and always put others before themselves. They sacrifice every and anything to give others the comfort that they wish they had. Part of that is being somebody who had nothing in the past. Part of that is being somebody who knows what it is like to be without, whether it is finances, company, love, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, unless we don't draw particular boundaries in the sand, we're going to run ourselves dry and then turn around and tell the world, you responsible for that. The world responsible for nothing. You're responsible for what you need to do. So start drawing some boundaries today. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's Jeremy from Mongdal. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see everybody in the next one.